that's what I call me time to focus on my business. All right. Stacy said she thought Brian is in the house. And I will tell you what, if Brian Birds is in the house, he is amazing. I've known Brian for a number of years. He runs an incredibly successful business. So Brian, if you're in the house, you better get your tail up here. So come on, buddy. All right. Let's see. What's an express offer? The question was, what is an express offer? EXP you can get a certification under express offers at EXP. What that does is it allows you to go out and solicit a listing of a home. Darren James is actually over that. He's one of the key members of that department. But with express offers, you can get solicit offers on a seller's house right before listing it. And so you can say, hey, look, if you'll do business with me, I can shop your property to multiple investors who would be interested in buying your property. And that way you can get them an offer before it is actually on the market. Turning around. Oh, look, Brian is in the house.
Yeah, they shifted our time. It's 9:45 as I understood. So I apologize, guys, if I'm a little late, if you guys already got started.
Man, you're never late. And even if you were late, I would listen to you, man, because you have got an incredible business. They just stuck me up here on the middle of the stage to start talking to fill some time in. And so, Candace, do you want Brian to come up here with me?
Welcome, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate Lee for filling some time. Folks, we've got another one of our amazing icon agents, Brian Birds out of Texas. Brian, you want to come up, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, how you became an icon, and open it up to some Q&A?
So my story is 17 years ago, decided to get into the game of real estate. Went through the motions, became a high individual producer, came into the category of starting the team, and then from that category moved over into purchasing a brokerage, transitioned a year and a half ago, sold off my brokerage, and then I moved over into EXP. That is a year and a half ago now, and today we iconed at about. So I'm a mega agent icon team, similar to Lee, and so there's a little bit of a different requirement, but we iconed in about 6.5 months with my team, and we are loving life. I will tell you, 17 years in, this has been probably the most exciting year because it gives us opportunities for a myriad of things that we do differently and that we work through differently that in the past 16 years, I never even thought was possible. So just opened up a whole new dialogue and kind of gave us a whole new slew of things to do over time.
Awesome stuff, Brian. Brian, I'm looking at the questions that people are asking in the audience, and because it's just the two of us, I think it'd be kind of cool if we answered those questions and then shared some of our experiences as well. Looking at one of the questions is, what would be the best piece of advice you would give to a brand new agent? I know it's been 17 years ago for you now?
Yeah. Guys, my solution is this, very simply, the best advice for any new agent is allow yourself to be engaged in the rest of the business, right? And what that simply means in layman terms is stop learning lessons on your own and start listening to others and find people that have already gone through those problems. Between Lee and Lee, I'm sure there's probably $1 million in mistakes, if not more. And that's just stuff that we've done that didn't work, stuff that we've done and didn't work as long as we expected it to. I mean, there's a million different versions of that. But one of my successful points is I have no problem with listening to others, whether they're at any stage in their career, whether they're brand new agents, whether they've been seasoned for 40 years. If you are willing to listen to people and hear when they're telling you, 99% of people will tell you exactly the path to follow that has either guided them to success or the path not to follow that has guided them to not being successful. So stop being egotistical and start realizing that if you just learn from other people, you will. We use a term, Lee and I are in a group that uses the term of humble implementation. And I truly own that fact. I like to implement things in a humble manner because I think that is by far the easiest method for success.
Spot on. And Brian, I know I know we're in a lot of groups. We do a lot of things together as far as group wise, and it is humble implementation. And it's not always about recreating or finding the next best shiny object. Learn from the mistakes that others have made and take the successes others have and implement those into your business as a new agent. And don't go out and, I've probably spent $1 million by myself on mistakes. Don't go out and spend money left and right. Focus on the basics first. There are tons of free resources out there to generate business. Obviously, you're going to work your sphere of influence. And there are places like Home Light, Referral Exchange, Fast Expert, Ojo Labs. There are tons of referral resources out there that do not cost you a dime to get started. You just pay a referral fee. Use those, answer your phone, your text, your email quickly, follow up, and put yourself around a ton of people that are where you want to go. Listen and implement. Take that action. And I still go to classes today. I still go to masterminds today to learn. And most of the time I keep my mouth shut because I can't learn when I'm speaking. Brian, one of the questions was, what part of Texas are you from?
Yeah, so I'm on the border side on the west end. So I'm in El Paso, Texas. We are 8 hours from anything, and that gives me a benefit in the fact that I'm not having to. I get to implement stuff that I steal and rip off and duplicate. My R&D department is the best in the business, and the reality is that if you have a market. I don't care if you think that it's the process has already been used over and over again. You still have some flexibility. We hear a lot about growth and opportunities when Leah and I go to these conferences, and what we always tend to find out is that your market has enough for everybody. Right now, there are a lot of agents in the business that are doing 1 to 5 deals. There's an acronym that I've heard these called the mouth breathers of the business, right? They're doing 1 to 5 deals a year. They're not going to stand very long. And the reality is that if you step up to the plate and you do really well, in my market alone, that 1 to 5 unit producer equates to 24,000 transactions in my market alone. That means that there's 24,000 transactions that I can go after. Don't go after the big guys. Don't go after a person like Lee. Don't go after a person like me. The person that is not doing the correct manner of business, and strengthen your presentations, strengthen your business acumen in that, and you can be massively successful. And you don't even have to jump markets. You don't have to go anywhere else. You just have the opportunity to just trim from the bottom up.
Absolutely. Another question that came out of the audience is, do the both of us utilize social media? And so I'm just going to tell y'all, social media is my weakest link. So I am not the expert you need to listen to on social media. I actually have on my calendar right now a list of classes I'm taking to get better at social media. Brian, what about yourself?
Yeah, so we encourage it quite a bit. I'm not a big fan of social media in a personal setting, but in a business setting, we use it pretty aggressively. And my team is very good at it. They push really hard. The beautiful thing about the stage that Lee and I are at is we get the opportunity of encouraging other people to help with that category. So I have an entire team member that's dedicated to that growth pattern on the social media aspect. So we do a lot of stuff on Instagram. We do a lot of stuff on Facebook, a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, and we're triggering a lot of those items. So we've gone through YouTube trainings and all those things to try and make sure that we're getting a massive presence. And by the way, massive presence does not mean necessarily that we're going viral. We get consistently 300 to 500 views on most of our content, but those are 300 to 500 people that are directly invested in that content. I think a lot of people are worried or want to have a massive uptick when it comes down to how many views you're getting. And I think what needs to be more relevant is how much content you're getting back. Are people contacting you? Are people filling out forms? I heard something a long time ago that was, stop being scripted and stop being, just perfect in your presentation factor and start being real. It has really engaged us at a higher level. So we do use it pretty heavily. We don't buy any leads as of today. Everything that we get is organic or referral based. So we really try to leverage that aspect of the modeling of social media because it's a piggyback. I heard something one time. A friend of mine, business partner, went for a wedding to Colorado Springs, and when he got into Colorado Springs, he called up one of his high school buddies, and he was talking to her and said, "Hey, you want to go out for dinner?" And she said, "No, I'm actually just bought my house and I'm moving in." He's like, "You bought a house and didn't tell me to get the referral?" And she's like, "Well, that's interesting because you came in for a wedding at a hotel and I run a hotel in Colorado Springs and you didn't call me to get a discount on that hotel." So it was just kind of comical, the fact that we don't often tell people who we are and what we do and what it means for us to be in the business. And I think that's what social media is kind of designed for.
Yeah, and like Brian said, him and I both are really out of production today. We've got wonderful people behind us, and I will tell you, I do have a team member. His name is Eddie Stewart, and he does a ton of TikTok. And one of the things, and my kids are 21 and 23. My kids follow Eddie more than they follow me. They listen to Eddie more than they listen to me about real estate, because Eddie in his TikTok videos, although they're funny, they're educational. He's giving something to his audience, and he gets thousands and thousands of views on his TikTok. So we do have great people on our teams that put all of this together. And Caitlin said, "What is his TikTok name?" I honestly don't know. Eddie Stewart. Look up Eddie Stewart. And I've got another team member that is brand new, that was a builder, and he is running around doing videos and interviewing local businesses on those videos. And of course, as a team, he tags the team in it. So the team is getting recognition. And as a team leader, we believe all for one for all, we're stronger together than we are as an individual. So he does tag the team in that. And that's one of the ways that we build our team presence. And looking at
there was a question about brand new agent waiting on a license, trying to figure out your personal brand. Your personal brand is who you are. Don't ever deviate from that. I've seen people, when I got into business, you had to have a trim and presentation factor that had to come into play. I came into the business pretty young. So for me, I had to use that moniker, which I'm not a big fan of anymore, but I had to fake it till I made it. And I had to present myself in a manner that was very representative of what the traditional mindset of a real estate agent was. I had to wear a suit. I had to put myself in a presentation factor that was standing out. Today, I think that's changed a lot with the advent of social media and the expansion of social media. You can attract people that are similar to you. So my shift has been, be you, be who you are. I've seen people, there's a guy that I'm a good friend with, and he wears Jordans every day. He wears a snapback hat every day, and he's just him, and that has leveled him up in that particular variety of drawing in people that really attract to that. So my point to this is that your personal brand is you, but make sure that you put your brand out there. Like if you're going to go with something, stick with it, and don't jump from ship to ship to ship. I hear a lot of times, well, I want to be in commercial, but I also want to sell residential. Be cautious of that. Become an expert in what you are. And if you're an expert, you can be massively successful as an expert. Think of it this way. Your general physician, your doctor that you go to for everything makes X. X is probably around $200,000 a year. Whereas if you go to an anesthesiologist, that anesthesiologist is probably making $500,000 or $600,000 a year. Why? Because they're a specialist. Specialists make more money.
Very, very true words there. I noticed one of the questions in the audience was, Lee, how do you pick up your leads if not social media expert? And I know that this room is probably going to exit when I say this. We still go knock on doors. We literally still go knock on doors. And that I can tell you, there might be a FSBO out there. There may be somebody that you took a listing in a neighborhood, or your company or your team took a listing in a neighborhood. Go knock on the doors of the people surrounding it. You would be amazed of the business that you can pick up knocking on doors. Other things that I do to generate business. I'm not a big leads buyer. I am but I use billboards. I have the unique selling proposition. Lee will buy it. Basically, I give my sellers three options. They have the option to get top dollar on their property through our aggressive marketing campaign and getting it sold. But if they need the assurance, knowing that, hey, if it doesn't sell within X number of time, I'll buy it for a predetermined price, and or I will offer to buy it up front, giving them the ultimate inconvenience. So I offer sellers three things: top dollar, convenience, or assurance. And by doing that, a lot of people come to us through the marketing we do through television and radio and billboards and some social media and word of mouth, and we work our past clients, and we do go knock on doors. And when we list a property and we're doing an open house, there's some grassroots that goes on there. Brian, do you do anything different?
No. So just so everybody understands, Lee, how many houses did you sell last year? Or going to sell this year?
Somewhere over 500. I lose count.
And I'll do about 700. My team right now is about 14 agents. Lee, how many are you at?
16.
Okay, so I want you guys to do that division for a second to just identify the fact that the reason I bring this up is I still go knock door too. This is not rocket science, guys. Heard a gentleman by the name of Greg Harrison, and he has a podcast called the Level Up Podcast. I'm losing my audio quality, it says. He has a Level Up podcast. And he said very simply, the only thing that's changed from when he was doing this 40 years ago and today is instead of having 5 people dial lines, he has a computer dialing 5 lines. Organic is still by far the most productive that you can possibly get. Stop thinking thinking that you can buy your way or speed your way into the mix. Listen, YouTube is an amazing platform, but it's the same concept. It's you providing information to people. It just gives you a bigger platform to do it. The podcast name is the Level Up Podcast. It's on Apple. It's all over the place. And Greg, effectively, if you look at his model, is basically one of the largest, if not the largest teams in the entire country. He just presents himself as a brokerage. But the value of this is the fact that if you stay organic, if you stay growth patterned, organically built, your brand will build around you. Lee and I have grown over stage time to the basis that, now our billboards work. Don't go buy billboards today, right? Because your name may not resonate in your marketplace. Ours does. But you can go knock on doors, or what I use is adoption of a neighborhood. We adopted about 6 neighborhoods in our area. Literally, we do everything for those neighborhoods. We give sponsorships and scholarships to high school seniors that are coming out of those neighborhoods. We drop off batteries for their smoke alarms. We make sure that they're aware of all the things that are going on in the neighborhood, things that are going on around it. High turnover neighborhood, and this is also a real value add there. So you don't have to go spend money. You just have to put yourself out there. And we walk that we have, like I said, a few neighborhoods that we work, but we walk them at minimum once a quarter. And we also own one of those neighborhoods. We're up to 56% of all sales coming out of that neighborhood. We own. We go all those routes.
Guys, think about that a minute. Brian owns 56% of one of those neighborhoods. And he, like you said, he only has a select number of neighborhoods that he truly focuses on. Don't try and be everything to everybody. And I'm glad he brought up what he said about billboards. You don't need to buy billboards early on. That's a branding tool. And the truth is, if you're going to buy billboards, you're going to need to buy a lot of them at one time, because just 1 or 2 or 3 billboards is not going to help you at all. It's just going to cost you money. Brian, I see Sergio said, what are your views on the projection sales with the increased interest rates and increased inflation projections? I've got my own personal opinion on that, but I'd love to hear yours, Brian.
Yeah, so in the business for as long as I've been in it, I'm a Friends fan. So using Ross as an analogy, you have to pivot constantly. And if you don't pivot in the business, you're not going to be successful. I do think that things may change a little bit, but I don't think that it's going to be any effect on my business, because the truth of the reality is that still need to buy houses. They still need to sell houses. In every fantastic book I've read, whether it's talking about Warren Buffett or it's talking about anybody that has made a massive amount of money, they make it in a downturn. So in my mind, a downturn just gives me the opportunity to be more successful. I was a phoenix rising from the ashes out of the last downturn, and I plan to do the same now. So this is the kind of time that I love, because it allows us to be actual professionals instead of just door openers. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have become door openers over the last 2 years. And I know even on my own team, we've had that same conversation. We've had that conversation that we've become door openers, and it was just too easy. It's going to get a little harder, but it doesn't mean it won't be just as successful, if not more.
Yeah, and my thoughts on the market is I have gone through the market ups and downs, and I can remember in 07, 08 when the crash came that in my MLS at that time there was about 2,400 agents. We dropped to less than 1,000. Well, and that's because everybody was whining about how hard the market was. I actually I was running a different brand at that time. I owned my own office, and I went in one day and I told my agents, look, the market is what it is. We can whine about it, or we can do something about it. If you're going to whine about it, go home. And some of them did. Matter of fact, out of 2,400 in our MLS, over half of them went home. And that chaos created opportunity for us that remained and wanted to work. So in every market, people are going to buy houses. They might not buy as many, but they're going to buy houses. And if they're not buying as many and the market's down, chances are the person sitting next to you in the real estate, one or the other is going to go home. Take advantage of that opportunity. Create something.
You guys have all made the right choice by being in this room, right? You've given the opportunity that you guys can be successful by learning from others. So continue the process. Listen, when the market took a downturn previously, 2008 and 9, I had to jump into doing short sales because most of my clients had to short sale to get out of house. So I had to learn a new expertise. And we killed it in short sales. Now, I personally hate short sales, but at the end of the day, I knew that I had to do something different because for me to sell more homes, I had to have more opportunities and I had to have more at-bats, if you will. So I became a short sale expert. As the foreclosure market started to shift, I got into foreclosures. And you know what? I hate foreclosures. I'm not doing foreclosures anymore, but I may have to get into that equation if they come back to fruition, because you have to be able to pivot in the market to what's actually working and what's actually making things happen. This is that category that says that you can be massively successful in any market. It's just you have to look and find the opportunities that are afforded.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are interested in foreclosures, EXP, I know in Orlando at the Shareholder Summit, I got the opportunity. I got the relocation REO certification. So EXP offers a class on relocations and REOs. So take advantage of the systems that this brand offers you to be ready for that next shift, that next pivot point, adapt to the market. A lot of agents today that have gotten in this business over the last couple of years have no clue what it's like to adapt and sell. Because when COVID came around, the market exploded. It's not what we expected. And so it's been easy to sell houses over the last couple of years, but when it shifts, if you don't change with it, there's a book out there, Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved the Cheese? Read the book. It talks about adapting to those markets.
Yeah. And guys, my suggestion is for everybody in the room, the one key to that is ask the right questions. Ask the questions that you have, because no question is stupid. No question is something that somebody might not also be asking. If you're willing to put yourself out there and ask the right questions and talk to the right people, you will find that, especially in the circles that I know myself and Lee kind of rotate in, we tend to, people are willing to share everything. There's very little secrets in this business. It's just basically the application of process. A lot of people pay for coaches. A lot of people pay for masterminds, and those are great opportunities, but at your starting point in the business, you may not have that capability. So just reach out and you'd be amazed what happens. We're in a business now, and just to celebrate that is that we're in a business now where we have the opportunity through RevShare to kind of grow and scale. But there's something that's kind of amazing about that. And Chuck Fazio is a good friend. And he basically said, hey, why would I not call you to ask you if you want to join something that's so amazing? And the same thing goes for the real estate business. Why would you not ask if it's going to help you grow and scale? Don't be scared being told no, because very often you will not be told no.
Yeah, and again, if y'all have heard one common theme between Brian and I, surround yourself around people who are where you want to be and or going in the same direction. And take advantage of that. Don't hang around the naysayers. Don't hang around the negative people. Hang around people who make a positive influence on your life.
Absolutely, and ingest as much as you possibly can. I don't know if Lee does this, but I come to a lot of the classes in this system. So I use when I'm on the road. It's kind of become one of my podcast functionalities is I'll just kick on the app and listen to what's going on in the room, because you never know if you're going to pull one little piece that will be massively successful for how you move forward. Okay. And that's one thing that I would strongly suggest. If you listen, put yourself in an environment where you can be massively successful. And I know Rudy Giuliani has kind of fallen from grace, but he said something to me at a conference about 12 years ago. And it basically said that at any one time he was reading 5 books. Now, he wasn't reading 5 self-help books. He wasn't reading 5 fiction books or nonfiction books. He was reading a book from each category that he really enjoyed. He enjoyed history, so he had a history book. He enjoyed self-help, so he had a self-help book. But at any one time, he had 5 books that he was reading, because sometimes you might get bored with something. Sometimes you might need something to refresh. In my case, I have the ability that right now I have books that I'm currently reading. 2 of them are on Audible. One of them is the one that sits next to my nightstand. One of them's on my Remarkable right now, as and I'll read it whenever I'm waiting for an appointment. This is the category. If you can be massively successful by learning from others, I still use that category today. The difference is that when I got started in real estate, I could find people around me. Now I have to get into groups like me and Lee are in, because I have to surround myself with people. I have to put myself in uncomfortable situations and make myself feel that way. But books do that inherently. Listen, you can read amazing books that will give you amazing opportunities. So just work that process.
Now, I noticed somebody put in, looks like Wendy put in the chat that Atomic Habits is one of her favorite books. And honestly, it's one of my favorites, along with The Compound Effect. I read The Compound Effect, at least I read it probably once a year. And it just talks about those little incremental things that you do every day, just like your rev share, just like your real estate sales. Little things you do every day eventually start to compound and generate massive results.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge benefit. I think each of us have books that we read regularly. I read The Compound Effect probably at least once a year, if not maybe twice a year. One that I read probably 3 times a year is How to Win Friends and Influence. Well, that still stands as my top book of all time. It just resonates every time, because I have a very introverted personality. So for me, that is a great opportunity to kind of open dialogue and talk to people. Yeah, huge opportunity. And get into those places that you can be really successul. Like I said, showing up here is the first step. But the second step is kind of what a few people have done here, is asking questions. And that's what I would encourage. Ask questions. Say stuff that you might be thinking about or have questions about, or lead sources. I know somebody asked that earlier. Lead sources are abundant. But your biggest lead source is your personal database. If you go through your phone today and you ask, does everybody in your phone, every single person in that phone, know that you are in real estate? And do they know it 4 times a year? If they don't, right there, you're leaving probably 10 to 30 deals to 100 deals, depending on where you're at in your stage of business, that might be sitting there. My team operates on a very simple premise. For every 1 deal we do, we want to pull out 3 additional deals out of it. And that's how we've been able to scale year over year with a very high production rate, because of the fact that we are constantly looking for the next 3 deals in every deal.
I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's either 10 or 20% of the people move every year. So if you've got 100, let's just say it's 10%. If you've got 100 people that you're friends with, and guys, don't tell me I don't know 100 people. Brian and I both are introverts. We have forced ourselves to get out of our comfort zones in front of people and do things that are very uncomfortable. The reason my friends said I wouldn't make it in the business because they thought I didn't like people. And the truth is, I was shy. And I'm still shy today. But I do things to push me outside of my comfort zone. But if just 10% of the people you know, and if you got 100 people in your Facebook feed, or you got 100 people in your soccer organization or whatever organization you're in, that's 10 transactions a year. Imagine if you got 500 people. That's $500,000 to $1 million a year in income if you work it effectively. But if you go chase all the shiny objects out there, you're going to miss the easiest and most profitable opportunity in front of you. And that is the people that you are already surrounded with.
Yeah, and I think that that's also scanned into the basis of how does the rev share plan come into play as well. Is think about it this way. Not only do you know people at those organizations, Lee's right. My kids are in sports, so I have to force myself to talk to all the parents there, because I know that, especially now in my branding awareness, they know who I am traditionally, and therefore I need to make sure that they know that I'm approachable. They know that I'm accessible. But that same kind of conversation that I talked about with my business partner, if your sphere of influence, I will tell you that this happened to me, and this is not too far away. It still burns. About 6 years ago, my sister bought a house, and I'm not joking. She didn't buy it in my market, thank goodness, but she bought a house, and I did not get a referral on that. Now, I would have given that entire referral back to her, but the point is that she didn't realize that I had the capability of being successful for her out of another market. That is one category that I think you may all need to realize real quick. One thing that we actually, from that date on, I have really focused on growing my referral business. And my referral business to the date this year, and it doesn't incorporate my 700 transactions that we'll cut out this year. My referral business is only about 50 to 60 deals a year that I'm sending out around the country. And that's 50 to 60 deals at a pure profit. Because my invested time is making a phone call a couple times to make sure it's all good. But invested, I send them a gift and keep them in my sphere. But at the end of the day, the cost is minimal. And I think we need to make sure that that is not only relevant with us, but it's also relevant on the outside. And the reason I brought up rev share is it also comes into knowing other agents. The last 2 years, one problem is getting your offers accepted. A lot of my offers got accepted from my team because I have good relationships with other realtors. So that database that might have some realtors in there, call and congratulate them on the closings that they're having. Call and congratulate them on, the successes that they're having in their business. It may not be an initial rev share opportunity, but in the eventual, it may be a massive agent attraction capability. We've had massive movement because as their broker starts to get into stress mode, I'm still in positive mode, and they're attracting to that.
And to add to that, what Brian's saying, call those other agents and congratulate them, those co-agents. Make sure that your paperwork and everything you do in that transaction is spot on. Make it as easy as possible. Still represent your client, but smile, be friendly, make it easy. Don't make that agent chase you for information as part of that transaction. They will appreciate it, and it will open up so many more doors of conversation in the future.
Something I hear a lot from new agents. They're trying to win the deal, right? Me and Lee come from a time when there was 3 fiduciaries, right? There was a fiduciary to the deal itself and the client. And because of those fiduciaries to that client, we also need to realize that if we take care of the deal and we help the process move forward, it's not about I won or you won. It's about, did the clients win? Did the clients get what they were trying to accomplish? Now, obviously, don't ever stretch outside of that in the respect of what you're negotiating, but be responsible about understanding that you being a jerk or an asshole to the other agent does not win you anything. And I will tell you this, you never know what's going on in their life. You never know if that's the one deal that's going to make their mortgage payment. You never know if it's that the one deal that's going to make sure that they can go on vacation next month. So they may be in a very high stress mode. Try and, like Lee said, be on point, help them out, help the transaction close, and be very cautious about trying to always win, because I will tell you that there's two things that I am very sad that were lost in the translation of real estate. The first is there was a time when we went and looked for houses for clients. Okay, we actually went out and found houses for clients. It's not the case anymore. Today, they bring the houses to us. So still get back out there, find houses for your clients. Number two is be a nice person to the people that you work with. I think that goes a tremendous way forward. And it's been massively successful now, given the model through the RevSharp model for us. And I think that's a huge opportunity you may be interested in.
And talking about RevShare and making friends and being courteous to those co-broker agents, and going back to the question of the market may be shifting where you're at. There's change coming, and brokerages are going to start getting nervous, and agents. The opportunity to have conversations with agents who may be thinking about moving are going to increase. It did back in the 07-08 market crash. It's going to be happening right now. It's going to be happening again. And EXP is a wonderful opportunity to bring people in. We've got a fantastic program here. And don't get caught up all about RevShare and stocks. One of the greatest assets of this organization, and I've come from several, is the collaboration, the sharing that goes on amongst the agents in this organization is second to none. And so when you bring people, remember, give. You got to give to get there.
Agreed. And just remember, so there was a statement that said that you dealt with a bad agent. I had a funny story. So I had an agent post on Facebook how bad I was and how negative I was and how all these things were super, how we didn't answer our phones and all these things, right? I caught wind to the fact that the agent had not gotten accepted for an offer. So I took a personal note and I wrote them a note. And sent it over to them, not with any expectations, nothing else. So the funny thing about the first post is they forgot to tag me in their post. One of my agents found it and then told me about it. Second post was a picture of my card saying, what an amazing agent that will go above and beyond. Whenever I complain, they just apologize and say they'll do better next. That post got so many likes and so many hits. It actually resonated. We've actually took 6 recruits directly off that post. And it was a guy that was being an absolute jerk on a social media resource. And then I went out and I was the bigger person. I was the person that killed him with kindness. I owned the ownership for the fact that there was something that was missing in the transaction that I could have probably helped through. And it just changed the whole game. Sometimes, like Lee said at the very beginning, you don't have to be the person that's always at the right one, always the one that's talking. 70% listening and 30% talking is probably going to get you a lot further than the vice versa.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to a question. I see Caroline May said, can you please reiterate the free referral resources? Caroline, just off the top of my head, you've got HomeLight, Fast Expert, Referral Exchange, sold.com, I think, Ojo Labs. Your state broker should have a list of approved EXP referral resources that you can access. So, and I'm sure there's somewhere in the world you can find it. But I know the state brokers have access to the approved list of referral resources as well. So hopefully that helps. Brian, is there any others that you can think of off the top of your head?
There's a ton. That's the new advent of the business. Everybody kind of followed suit. I believe that OpCity is in most states, and that's directly through EXP. So OpCity is a great one. And then there's the opportunity that is most of your lenders might have a program like Veterans United has a program. So there's a lot of other opportunity. Yeah, somebody mentioned that 62% of our business is from OpCity. And the beautiful thing about those kind of platforms is that once you close them, some of them might have a time lapse before you have to pay them again for another deal. Some of them, it's a one and done. So know those things. But there's a tremendous value add in the fact that if you really push yourself out in the environments, that you can be massively successful with referrals.
So I think we've got like 5 minutes left before this is up. And even though I'm not the moderator, Brian, I think you've done an amazing job. So y'all give it up for Brian. He's done an amazing job with this. And last bit of advice, Brian, what would you tell somebody that's getting ready to end this year and go into next year? What's your advice for helping them succeed?
One of my biggest is simply track your numbers. Know what you're doing. So I owned a broker for a long time. And one thing that really resonated, unfortunately, is that most agents don't know what they make on the transaction. Most agents couldn't tell you how many transactions they did last year. Most agents can't tell you how much they spent on advertising. This is an unfortunate part of our business. You go through real estate school and you learn about contracts, you learn about this, you learn about that. You get into the business and you learn how to do things and sell things, but you forget that this is a business that you run and that you are successful with. Mike Malkowitz wrote a book called Profit First, and it has been my business Bible standing for a couple of years now. And it comes down to this very simple category. Think back to when you were a young kid or college or whatever it might be, and realize that you were able to afford a life with whatever money you were making at that time. Profit First puts that into your business mindset, that you work with what you have rather than spend what you get. And I would truly suggest that each of you track your numbers, know your numbers, and then also expedite and put into category the fact of how do you build up on the next one. Some people are fans of Grant Cardone, some people are not. I actually think that his premise is really massive. He puts a goal book next to his bed every night, and he writes down his goals and he stretches them. He puts them just out of reach so he can go after them. I've adopted something similar and I journal every night. I've been doing this for years, but I encourage my son to do the same thing. My son is 8 years old. And his goals obviously are much different than some people might expect, but he puts down things like he's a swimmer, and he put down that he wants to win the medley for our city swimming. Well, guess what? In his age group, he won that based on what I believe is he would put that every night, and he'd say, and he put under it that he wanted to swim a couple extra laps of practice, and he wanted to ask the coach for extra practice before everybody got there. Write down those goals, put those details. Our business is often forgot on the fact that we get caught in the minutia. The whirlwind, for those of you that are book readers, don't get caught in the whirlwind. And that there's some opportunity for big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs, right? Go after those.
I'm so glad you brought up the book Profit First. Matter of fact, when you said that, I turned around and grabbed, I literally have it sitting on my desk. It is my profit Bible. It is my business Bible. And so guys, if there's anything that you hear us say today, tracking your numbers, running your business as a business, read the book Profit First. We're not telling you to go out and spend a ton of money on a bunch of shiny objects. We're saying run your business and reach out to the people you know. In Profit First, there's a chapter, and it talks about the main two things it talks about are events and sphere of influence. That's where you're going to make the most money. That's not the only way to make money in this business, but it's a great book. Encourage you to read it. We are out of time, so thank y'all so much for coming today, and hopefully I'll see some of you at EXPCon in Vegas. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And reach out, workplace, any social media resources, and I'll throw down my number and email in the chat as well. Thanks, guys.